welcome everyone to this session on investing in women in agriculture and rural development, a Philippine case study. This is actually a case study done by my organization and AGREA. It's actually a company I started, but we're really working a lot on women in agriculture, and in accordance to the UN women also. So actually, I'm so happy that this week our company won the UN Women because award because of our work in emphasizing the importance of women in the agriculture sector and also in the supply chain. So I guess we have a good number of people, and I need to start. So I will be sharing to you a little bit of insights. For those who have been in the Philippines, we have a very beautiful country. It's actually both agricultural and also, we have a lot of seas, a lot of beautiful white beaches. And if you see the map here, Philippines is actually divided into three major islands. The blue in the map is Luzon, the yellow is Visayas, and the red one is Mindanao. However, um, this island actually in the Philippines, we have around 7,000 plus islands. To be exact, we have 7,107 islands in the country, and it's beautiful if you want to go tourism, but it's also a big challenge if you want to go into agriculture because of logistics, supply chain, and the weather patterns in the Philippines. My company, we coined this word one island economy. Basically, we work on the agricultural industries in the Philippines in terms of island development, and we focus on ecology of dignity, wherein we dignify all the stakeholders in the supply chain and also in the production, most importantly the farmers and the fisher folk. Currently, we work with two major islands in the Philippines. This is Marinduque Island, the first circle in the map you can see in the upper side, and the other one is Siargao. This is in the Mindanao, which is the food capital of the Philippines. We focus our work on zero waste, zero hunger, zero insufficiency. We're in zero waste in our operation. We're always aware that environment is always a very important factor in our work. The environment is front and foremost in all the strategies and practices in our company. Zero hunger, this is not about the hunger of the stomach. This is really about the hunger of human being to belong, the hunger of the farmers and the fisher folk to actually be given enough seat on decision table, and also given enough seat on creating agribusinesses in the countryside. And lastly, the zero insufficiency. This is our business model. We study every island's import and export, and if there's a capacity to lessen the import by providing interventions that are eco-friendly and farmers friendly and business friendly, so we do so. We also study the island export capacity. There are islands we work that they are, for example, the largest rice exporter, or they are the largest grain and fruit and vegetable exporter. So we also maximize on the capacity of the island to create business. In this entire aspect of our business, we work closely with the local government unit because I think on a national level of agriculture, it's so hard to deal it on a national level. It's better to deal it with the local level. So we work a lot with the governors, Congress representatives, and mayors, and more importantly, with the farmer cooperatives present in different islands that we work around the country. So far, the two islands that we work are quite mature. Siargao, we work with 187 hotels and restaurants because it's a $1 billion tourism industry. And in Marinduque Island, we work a lot with the local market and also export some of their products, especially coconut products and superfoods like turmeric and ginger, because the island is known for that. In this work, we focus mainly on cultivation of human beings. It's not even about cultivation of land or cultivation of soil. When I started the company, just to give you a background, I've been in agriculture for 22 years. I'm still pretty young. I started teaching farmers at the age of 12 in a sugarcane farm where my father used to work. And I observe a lot of, struggles in the agriculture sector. The farmers are still very, very poor. It's a crime against humanity that the producers of the food in the food chain, the farmers and the fisher folks, are mostly the one without food on their table. So I started AGREA. It's an innovative, inclusive for-purpose agribusiness that is founded on sustainable agriculture, fair trade, and a replicable model of an agri-based economy. So right now, our company's model is being replicated in different provinces all over the Philippines, and we work with more than 23,000 farmers. Um, we work a lot on ecology of dignity. This is in connection to the cultivation of human beings that changing the mindsets of people towards a new narrative of agriculture. That agriculture or farming is not just, a one-way ticket to poverty or drudgery, but it is a ticket to be dignified, ticket to be respected, ticket to have a good livelihood, and ticket to really have a sustainable um, a business in every island we work with and a sustainable income for our farmers. So for the vision of our work, to create the first one island economy model, the Philippines, by 2035. So far, it's been happening really good. And somehow, when we started a company, it seems that it was so hard to sell the vision because it's like the one island economy. No one really understood it. But right now, especially during this pandemic, everyone was like talking about agriculture. And right now, we got so many clients in terms of our consultancy projects and also so many local government leaders wanting us to develop master plan on food security on their provinces, on their towns and cities, and also on their regions. Our mission is to alleviate poverty and hunger of farming and fishing communities. We do it by working with AGREA company, and also we have a nonprofit arm that actually runs the AGREA Farm School, where we educate a lot of farmers into sustainable agriculture, livelihood, and also financial literacy. So I always believe in this. In all our approaches in our company, we focus on capacitating farmers to dream for nation building. In our country, in the Philippines, for the longest time, despite the fact that we are an agricultural country, we forgot to develop the human capital in the agriculture sector. So when you enroll in our AGREA Farm School, the first 3 days, we don't talk about cultivation of land or planting. We talk about cultivation of someone's dream, teaching farmers how to dream, and seeing how they contribute to the entire economy of the country. So it's really about giving them a space that every contribution they actually do, every effort they do in the agriculture sector contributes to the global domestic product of the country and contributes to the economy. In that way, they would feel that they're relevant and they're very important in the entire Philippine economy. So, since we're talking about the role of women, it's such a big case study that we've been doing, for the last 6 years on how to actually make women the center and front of our work. So, we have this program just specific for women farmers. We call it Forward. It's finding opportunities and roles of women in the agriculture sector and rural development. So women as the center and front of the entire work. We focus on building sustainable livelihood for the women farmers and also the women in the supply chain. We create a lot of micro, small, medium enterprises in support of their livelihood. We created the movement every year. We do more love for women farmers effort and roundtable discussions just to really elevate the issues on gender equality in the agriculture sector. And lastly, we're actually pushing a policy. It's called Magna Carta of Rural Women that we started last year, and hopefully next year it will be in the Congress for discussion by our Congress to be approved as a bill. This policy that we're pushing, it's actually led by my company and other stakeholders like different embassies like Netherlands embassy, French embassy supporting us, and New Zealand embassy supporting us to make this happen, so that it will unlock potentials for investments, capacity building programs, and gender and equality projects for women. So we have this Magna Carta of Rural Women last year. We gathered the top women led organizations in the agriculture sector, from digital platform in agriculture to Muslim areas in Mindanao, which is a Muslim part of the Philippines, to peace groups, to food processing groups, to academia, and also to policymakers. So we worked this project with the Philippine Commission on Women, and right now we have 10 congressmen supporting us to push this into a bill. And it was a very successful roundtable discussion. So these women are actually one of the most powerful women in the Philippines who have been working endlessly in the agriculture sector. I have here beside me on my left side in the picture, if you can see, um, she is the first woman chieftain of an indigenous community in the Philippines, which has, millions of members all over the country protecting ancestral domain of our ancestral people in the country. So we work a lot with indigenous communities. We work with Muslim women communities that every after the war, they're having a problem in terms of their food. And also we work a lot with markets. So some of these women are actually running big supermarkets and big businesses in the Philippines on how they can be part of this gender equity and empowerment program for women in the agriculture sector. So just to give you a context, for the last years that we've been working on the women in agriculture, this is like a statistics that we've been gathering so far. We work this with the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands and other organizations and UN Women also. Um, there's a gap since the women participation and recognition in the agriculture sector is only 23%, and it's still a male dominated industry. But if you go in the workforce, if you go to the farming communities, actually you see a lot of women working on the fields. However, they're not recorded, they're not given empowerment. Even land titling in the Philippines is still under the men. That's actually one of the biggest issues. Most women, they don't have a sense of ownership because the land title of their land is actually under the name of their husband. So even if they borrow money, they couldn't borrow money because as the collateral, like for example, if land is the collateral, it is in the name of their husband. And if the husband doesn't want the land to be the collateral, the women, they don't really have a chance to avail different programs. 77% of the agricultural labor force consisted of men and 23% were women. So it's a recent study in 2018 that is actually been of an issue because we really want to elevate a lot of voices of women in the agriculture sector. And we also found out that rural women are involved in seed production. In the Philippines, we work with East West Seed Company, a Netherlands-based company. They're the largest in the Philippines. They actually occupies more than 70% of the market share. And most of their seed production, from plant breeding to the seed production in the field, they're mostly employing a lot of women. Women are involved in planting, weeding, harvesting, small livestock raising, post-harvest tasks, especially threshing, processing, and marketing. So if we see, the women are not only involved in the production side, but also in series of supply chain. So in our company in AGREA, we empower the women to be like our farmer scientists. So in this picture, actually, we trained our women to plant rice without water. So this is like on top of their mountains where it was denuded because of illegal logging. And we taught the women how to plant heirloom kinds of rice for premium market. So here they're planting black rice, which is most sought in the market, and we're teaching them technologies on how to make this into organic production at the same time, not needing water anymore. So if you see here in the picture, we always believe that investment for women is an investment to the whole community. And this is such a powerful statement because these women are now the ones becoming teachers to recruit more women in the farming community to apply our technology. We also develop climate resilient farming. This is our gender inclusive and sensitive approach to sustainable agriculture. If you see in the picture, it's coconut, and we plant superfoods under coconut. So we develop this technology. If you see, that's actually turmeric, which is one of the most best-selling products in terms of superfoods. And we also plant ginger. And around the coconut farms of the smallholder farmers, we plant also vegetables. We provide them chicken, and we also provide them pigs, so that they can take care both the livestock, the poultry, their vegetables for home consumption, and they also sell in the market. But at the same time, utilize the land under their coconut, and on their coconut, we also develop high value products like organic coconut sugar, where we sell to coffee shops in Metro Manila. So these are some of the products that our women have been, doing for the last 6 years. So we do organic coconut sugar. We supply massively to a lot of, cafes in the Philippines. We do turmeric powder. This next year, we'll be releasing more brands on turmeric brew, because during this pandemic, a lot of people are looking for it as an immune booster. And we're also planting a lot of lemons and ginger to go with it. And we also work a lot with the indigenous farming communities of women. They take care of around 2,000 hectares of ancestral domain land, where we harvest this honey. This is like 100% pure honey, where we work with women in the indigenous tribes. And we also develop a lot of products, from coconut products to, virgin coconut oil, to coconut jams, to anchovies. If you see, there's like a fish vacuum anchovies. We work with the wives of the fishermen to also develop such product. And if you see, there's also a basket in the middle. So there are some women in the farming communities that, if we couldn't engage them on product processing, we engage them on artistry and creativity and arts and crafts. So some women are actually doing the weaving, where we pack all our produce. So we work on the women in the production side, developing them as farmer scientists. But there are some women who are not interested in the production side. We audit their skills. They want to cook coconut sugar. They want to repack our honey. We teach them in that sense. And others, we put them on the arts and crafts, or the packaging and branding of our products. So they make the bag. So in every layer of the supply chain from production, we put women in there, based also on the skills and the talent they want. So women leading value addition of agricultural products is something that has been a game changer in all our work. If you see, there's called Marinduque in a bag. So in every island we enter, there's Marinduque Island, Siargao Island. When you go to this island, you can buy this Marinduque in a bag, where all the products are actually made and done by the women from our farming communities. So it's like your giveaways or souvenir. So how women feed the world? Recently, actually just last week, we had this another discussion. We got the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture of the Philippines as our keynote speaker. He said that women play a decisive role in the household and in food security. In rural areas, home to the majority of world's hungry, they grow most of the crops for domestic consumption and are primarily responsible for preparing, storing, processing of food. Available statistics resoundingly contradict the stereotype of the farmer as a man. Globally, women produce more than half the food is grown. So even our secretary is always believing in our work that there are so many women out there working on the fields, working in the supply chain, but they're not recognized. So giving them voices is actually something very powerful, and giving them sustainable livelihood is something that will really change the game in the agriculture sector and the supply chain. So what's the sustainable livelihood we actually work with our women farmers? So we create environmentally friendly, gender sensitive, financially viable, socially impactful, and culturally appropriate businesses for women. In the picture, if you see, it's me and one of our woman farmer. You see at our back, it's like sacks and sacks of cleaned turmeric. So when the husband, harvests their turmeric plants, the women are the one cleaning it up, sorting it, and we put it in a sack so that it's, we can easily supply to nutraceutical companies or pharmaceutical companies or processors. So how to achieve this sustainable livelihood? So we strengthen products of local communities and industries. So basically, what we've been doing is we usually do and conduct interviews for all our women. So we base it on their skill. We also base it on the resources available to them in their locality and what kind of industry we can do so that we can develop products that can create them sustainable livelihood. Turning waste into value-added products with good design. So, for example, a lot of our products actually are mostly sometimes waste from the farms, but we make sure that the women are processing it more. Like, for example, during this pandemic, there were tons and tons of tomatoes being thrown on the fields or by the side road because they're nowhere to sell. Restaurants and institutional markets are closed. So we trained our women to process them into sauces. We created a lot of pomodoro sauce in partnership with some chef. And we also developed products that they can bottle so that, and then we help them with branding so that the women have source of livelihood and institutionalized inclusive business. In the work that we do in our company in AGREA, we make sure that women is always given importance. So if it's like on the farm itself or in the production side or in the processing, we have a AGREA rescue kitchen where we process these value added products, or even in the supply chain and logistics where women are mostly the ones recording, making sure that the shipment is out, making sure that the shipment is in a plane cargo or in the boat going to the mainland. It's always the women who's making sure that kind of inclusivity in our business. We're also very big in education. So AGREA has a farm school. It is run by our nonprofit, the AGREA Foundation. In AGREA Farm, if you see in the picture, we engage with a lot of schools that are into culinary, so that this culinary students can actually work with our farming communities to train our farming communities of women how to cook properly, how to bottle their product properly, how to process product that follows Food and Drug Authority regulations. And if you see here in the bottom picture, these are the graduates of our farm school. And we usually have a lot of women in our graduates and a lot of young people in our graduates. So our school is actually attracting more women and young people to go into agriculture. And in education, it's a very fundamental building block to gender and development. In our farm school, we always emphasize the importance of women and importance of young people in the agriculture sector. So we believe that improving education for Filipina women and girls in agriculture by developing gender sensitive curriculum. So in our farm school, we're very gender sensitive. Right now, we're trying to work with engineering and machineries and organizations on how to develop farm machines and farm implements and tools that are women friendly. Age appropriate sexual health education in the rural context. We put this in our education because we always notice that a lot of young teenage pregnancy is happening in the rural areas because they don't have sexual health education, and they don't really see the importance of studying more or working more, and not like getting pregnant at 15 years old, which is like most of the cases in the rural context. Allocating 30 to 40% of the Commission on Higher Education scholarship budget to agriculture courses. So this is something that we are actually encouraging our Commission on Education to put, so that it will provide more scholarship opportunities for people to go into agriculture. Special attention to family farming, market-based agriculture, and digital literacy. I mentioned here family farming because during our series of roundtable discussion, family farming is one of the most effective activities in the farming community that involves the women actively. And market-based agriculture. Most of the women in our farming communities are the ones connected to the market, are the ones coordinating with the market, and also in terms of digital literacy, they always like are the ones having Facebook account or Viber account or WhatsApp account, or or always attending in their smartphone to get information from us or to get information from the market. So involving the women in that sense will actually trajectorize, our work in the agriculture sector. And lastly, prioritization of food security and sovereignty. So this is something that we've been doing in educating our women that, having that sense of food security and sovereignty is a powerful tool on the household level so that they can actually bring food on the household food security. At the same time, it's pure freedom for them to know how to plant their own food. Because during our series of roundtable discussion, when the family is hungry, it's always the wife who's taking the beating, and it's just so sad reality on the ground. We also focus on health and nutrition, uh, focus on resilient crops for emergency food reserves. In the Philippine context, we have 20 to 21 typhoons every year. The last 2 weeks, we had 3 typhoons. You can check in your internet right now. We've been flooding, and billions of dollars of money are wasted in the agriculture sector. So it's been a struggle on how to actually focus on climate resilient crops. So most of these crops that we're working with the women in the agriculture sector are root crops, because despite the typhoon, root crops will always survive. So we focus on sweet potato production, ginger production, because there's always a market for ginger, turmeric production, because pharmaceutical companies and nutraceutical companies are really getting it as superfoods. Age appropriate education regarding puberty and pregnancy. This is something related to my discussion a while ago. Why we're even touching this? Because all the more when we touch this issue, we actually help in family planning in the rural areas. Uh, I every time I go to our farming communities, I met women who has like 17 children, 18 children. The last time I was in one of the islands, I always ask the women, how many children you have? What's like the most number of children? They have like 10 children, 13 children, 18 children. Imagine 18 children. And the mother is giving birth, and then a 15-year-old daughter is also giving birth, right? It's just a surmountable problem because of the vicious cycle of poverty. So we're touching it even in our work. So by building livelihood to them. So every time we build livelihood to these women, it's actually help them to make them busy in the farm. So a lot of them now are so busy that it's like more of our natural family planning. We're joking about it, but it's becoming very, very effective. And we talk about education. The moment they are educated, the moment they're in school, it really changed their mindset towards dreaming more for the family, achieving dream bigger than what they thought of dreaming before, and just having a dream, not only like to continue the vicious cycle of poverty, but to really get out of poverty. So education in this context is very important. We do interventions for early marriages, early and unwanted pregnancies, maternal death, and poor health facilities. So we're talking about this because if we cannot solve this problem in the rural communities or in the farming communities, we couldn't end the poverty and the vicious cycle of teenage pregnancy on those cases. And lastly, education and measures to avoid uncertified midwives for birth delivery. A lot of issues in the rural community based on our case studies. Women, they don't have access to birthing facility. Usually they just give birth at home. And right now in the Philippines, it's not allowed. Midwives are not allowed due to mortality of children. And this has been a lot of education that we're trying to do with our women. But more importantly, we also work with the government on actually how to solve this problem, how to provide birthing clinics in rural communities, especially on far-flung farming communities. So in health and nutrition, it's not only about, solving and providing solutions on their problem on the production or in their problem of farming. It's really about putting intervention on how women survive in the rural area. Or in this case, in the photo, we're also working with a lot of urban poor in the Philippines. So we work with big companies and we partner with them for their corporate social responsibilities to provide grow kits to women in urban slums or informal settlers. Um, so that they can grow their food. And this is one of the most beautiful project that we're doing now, that even international organizations like Zonta Club or Rotary Club are actually adapting to make it happen in their communities. Aside from that, as Philippines is actually most of the parts of the Philippines, especially the Mindanao area, it's a Muslim country. It's a Muslim area where every year we have war happening. Bombing is happening left and right, and it's so sad, that a lot of operation is definitely just a band-aid solutions. So when we were discussing and doing this, roundtable discussions and focus group discussions with women who are actually from Muslim Mindanao, most of these women are wives of the Sultan or the Datus in those areas. And a lot of them, we launched this move, More Love for Women Farmers, to actually concretize our work on the focus of women and to also encourage a lot of men, even in the Muslim areas, to actually support this work. So we take active monitoring measures against VAUSI, or violence against women and children cases. So we partner with different communities in there to do community visits and education component, increase women representation in alternative dispute resolutions. So when we were discussing with the women leaders in the Muslim Mindanao, they really want to have a seat in alternative dispute resolutions, because most of the time when the women is given a seat, it's a peaceful, process of solving their post-war reconciliation. Community-led groups against gender-based violence to supplement women's desks. So we work with the government on how to develop, VAUSI desk in community level, so that when there's violence in the household, the women has somewhere to go to report the case. Unlike before that, when there's gender violence at home, especially right now during this pandemic, the issue of hunger, malnutrition doubled, and it also doubled the issue of gender based violence. And in this one, we've been lobbying with our Congress House and also with the Philippine Commission on Women to actually put more desks on different rural communities so that the women have access to this kind of support and intervention. Simplify and localize gender responsive barangay development plans. Barangay is the smallest, political unit in the Philippines. It's like it's after the city. So city is composed of barangay or different village. So barangay, we want to do localize and simplify the approach on development plans that actually include the women. So when the Magna Carta of Women in Agriculture sector would be approved, the government actually will allocate funds for gender and programs for the barangay. Supporting women-led research and data gathering. This is something that we had a hard time, for the last years, because there's always like no money given to some of our researches. So we ended up working with the Netherlands Embassy and some organizations to actually make our work, work on the ground and become more effective. And lastly, establish post-war sustainable programs. So if you see in the picture, this is in Mindanao. I was there with my best friend from Angola. She one time visited me in the Philippines, and I brought her to our farming communities, so our war zone areas. And look at these children. We work with the Department of Education to actually work with public elementary schools to teach the kids on how to grow their own food. So right now we have this MOA with the Department of Education to actually implement it. So the food that they grow in their schools are actually going to the feeding program. And most of the women also are learning a lot from the Department of Education due to our program. The women who are sending their children here are also learning in the process. And this is like one of the post-war sustainable programs that we actually been doing with them. And so after discussing all that, what we're trying to work on in the Magna Carta of Women in Agriculture, it's still a long process to go. We've been taking so much time to dig deeper on those issues. We've been connected all over the Philippines to actually address these issues. But during this COVID-19 pandemic, we also have response project for women. So growing food while growing good. If you see here, these are women who have no work. They are very dependent and ambulant vendors before the pandemic. So we have this grow food with them. This is in partnership with different companies and the government of the Philippines. We signed a MOA with the Department of Agriculture to actually help us do this. And on Friday, we are distributing again 2,000 growing kits to people who are affected by the typhoon. And recently, on the Asia Pacific side, AGREA and me personally was one of the co-founders of Grow Her organization with Grow Asia, a World Economic Forum supported organization, Corteva AgriScience, and Women in Business Australia to launch this Grow Her. So it's a community-based microsite that allows women to break through the glass ceiling through learning events, essential resources, and best practice sharing. You can actually visit this website. It's called www.growher.org to actually have access to a lot of our programs on women. So thank you so much. This is the end of my presentation. I just want to share this with you. Most things except agriculture can wait. Thank you again.